King Arthur, Legend of the Sword is a film directed by Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie is a guy who's gotten very Ritchie off of the big blockbuster movies that he's been doing lately, like the 2 Sherlock Holmes movies, like Man from U.N.C.L.E. and like this movie. Wow, I'm really corny for saying that. This movie stars Charlie Hunnam, a guy who is really great in Sons of Anarchy, so I'm told. It also stars Jude Law and a bunch of other people that I can't remember. Jimon Han's unrecognizable last name is in this movie, the black guy who's in like every big action movie ever. So this movie follows the story and the origin and the tale of King Arthur, the cultural hero, the fabled icon, King Arthur. And if you don't know who King Arthur is, Really? Basically, Jude Law plays the dick of all dicks. He plays a brother to a king, and there's a happy kingdom, and he's like, nah, I want that kingdom shit. He does a whole bunch of evil stuff, and he becomes the king. The young Arthur is wished away at a very young age to protect him, and then as an adult, he has to come back, and he has to save his kingdom from his evil uncle, and you've seen this before. By the way, I had to switch up the hat because I got a King Arthur hat at the screening, so I figured I would switch it up for the review. I also got a poster, but I figured it would be pretty awkward if I tried to wear the poster for the review. Matter of fact, let me try this out real quick. Yep. Awkward. No way this will work. I will say, despite the fact that I think most of this movie is kind of a mess, I think this is a very entertaining and fun mess to be in. First of all, Charlie Hunnam, I saw him in Pacific Rim. He was decent in Pacific Rim. He was alright. He was kind of a generic main character or whatever. This movie, this guy has some charisma, he's got some personality to him, and he has some really fun, witty dialogue and banter back and forth with his friends and some other characters in this movie. Overall, you do feel like you like him. He's a very likable King Arthur in this movie, and this movie does try to make you have fun, so I gotta respect them for that at least. There's also some really cool magic stuff. There's some really cool magic action sequences. Intro to this movie is just balls to the wall crazy. You got these huge ass elephants wrecking shit for no reason. They introduce a whole lot of magical lore into the King Arthur mythos, and you figure like it should be magical because this is about a guy who becomes a king after he pulls a magic sword from a stone or whatever. There's some fun-ish action sequences in this movie, so it has that going for it. And again, Charlie Hunnam's friends, I really don't know their names because I'm terrible with names. You guys know this by now, but they were really fun characters too, and I did end up caring a little bit about them, and I ended up caring about their relationship with King Arthur, or as they say in the trailers, the Born King! Alright, now let's get to the rest of the mess that this movie actually was. The CGI in this movie, honestly, it came and went for me. There are some sequences where the CGI in this movie was kind of bad or kind of fake looking to the point that it took me out of the movie. It's like half the movie was really good, and then there were some parts of this movie that made me go, you guys shot this on a Hollywood budget, right? Also, the editing and the pacing of this movie is a little bit choppy and all over the place, honestly. Listen, if you know Guy Ritchie, you know that he has a style and he has a propensity for explaining a scene after he's already shown the scene. Like, he does a scene where he shows like a whole bunch of montages and he does a whole bunch of flash forwards, and then he goes back and he explains how that scene happened a little bit. Okay, picture that, but times 1,000. Like, he does that a lot in this movie. There are entire scenes of characters where they're talking about something, talking about some plan or something that they need to do, and then later on they montage through the plan, and then they kind of go back and keep cutting back and forth to them talking about the plan. That happens a lot in this movie, to the point that it kind of makes certain things about the movie feel choppy. Like, you feel like some things are either really rushed, or you feel like some things are taking way too long. As far as the King Arthur origin, and as far as telling his story, some parts of his story feel like they're montaged through when they shouldn't be montaged through. There are some interesting parts of the King Arthur lore and some of the King Arthur coming up type of shit where they just kind of skip past all of that and they just kind of montage through some of the really important parts. But then there are some really boring, slow down parts that add nothing to the movie, and they don't montage through those. I honestly think that depending on how you feel about Guy Ritchie is going to determine how you like or hate this movie. I just think his style is that divisive. Outside of Charlie Hunnam and his friends, like he has a circle of friends that he's really close with. Outside of them, I feel like most of the other people in the movie didn't have much of a personality at all, and they kind of felt like generic quest characters. Even the villain, Jude Law, he tries his absolute best to pull off the evil scumbag thing. But honestly, you feel like anybody could have been Jude Law, and you feel like anybody could have replaced any of these characters in this movie. The only characters I really cared about was King Arthur and his circle of friends, which, if the movie was aiming for that, good job. In the end, I actually don't think this is a really good movie, but it is a very entertaining movie, and in this particular case, I think that's gonna be enough for a lot of people. I'm gonna give this movie the guilty pleasure rating because it's a bad film, but I did have fun with it, so put it in Smallville. Alright guys, that is my review for King Arthur. Has anybody seen King Arthur? What did you think of it? Let me know down below. As always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.